Why am I here? I ran into her at a supermarket I stopped by on a whim. Thinking back to the past, I found myself calling out to her before I knew it. My name is Ryan, 29 years old. I work in sales at a leading company. Jessica makes us feel relaxed, doesn't she? In recent years, Jessica, the receptionist at our office, has become the talk of the town. Famous for her beauty since she joined the company, she's known for her cheerful and bright personality, light makeup, and modest attire. She's popular not just within the company, but also with our clients. However, I never felt attracted to her, even though she's 5 years younger than me. We work at the same company, but the only interaction we have is when entering or leaving the office. Just a beautiful receptionist I exchange greetings with. I never thought our paths would cross beyond that. Hey, aren't you Ryan from the sales department? After work, I went to my favorite bar and there she was, Jessica, sitting at the counter, drinking alone. Good to see you. Surprised she remembered my name, I just greeted her and went to sit in the back. Ryan, if you're alone, how about joining me? However, I ended up drinking with her, called over by her friendly smile. I live with my family, but everyone is a lightweight when it comes to drinking. I got tired of drinking alone at home, so I've been exploring new places. This bar is really great. Jessica was drinking barley shot shoe. The owner, who came to greet me as a regular, mentioned that Jessica seems to be a good drinker. This place has a great owner. I recommend it if you're thinking of becoming a regular. As we both drank, the conversation flowed. I realized that Jessica didn't know she was referred to as the office Madonna or beautiful receptionist. When I casually mentioned the rumors about her, she just laughed them off, saying, "I'm not interested." Another round, Jessica said, passing her glass to the owner with enthusiasm. Watching her engage in lively conversation with the surprised owner, I began to see her in a new light. Eventually, we started running into each other at the bar after work, and soon we began drinking together more often. She laughs heartily and genuinely, without any pretense. I found myself increasingly drawn to Jessica, who deeply cherishes her family. We started going out on our days official. I couldn't ignore my feelings for her anymore. I had genuinely fallen for Jessica. I'm not very experienced in love. So, with a do-or-die attitude, I confessed my feelings on Christmas. I thought she would reject me, seeing me as just a drinking buddy. But her response was unexpected. "I like you too, Ryan." Jessica, blushing and looking down, responded in a soft voice. I was so happy, I couldn't help but shout for joy, which was unlike me. Our relationship progressed smoothly, and the happy days flew by. A year later, on Christmas, I proposed. Of course, Jessica said yes, and we became husband and wife. My colleagues envied me for marrying the office favorite. I was proud of my wonderful wife, but living together gradually led to struggles over differing values. "Sorry, I couldn't cook well today. I'll go buy some lunchboxes. Just wait a bit." Jessica, who usually got home before me, was eager to cook. But every other day, she'd fail and end up rushing out to buy lunchboxes. "Shall I cook dinner? If you push yourself too hard from the start, you might collapse." "It's okay. I want to become a good wife by increasing the household chores I can handle quickly." Living together, I realized that Jessica was really bad at housework. During our dating period, I brought up the idea of living together several times, but Jessica said, "I want to live with my family until we get married." I respected her wish and decided we would live together after marriage, looking forward to it as a post-wedding joy. So, I hadn't realized her struggle with housework until now. The era where women do all the housework is over, and since we both work, I suggested sharing the chores right after moving in. Jessica honestly admitted, "I'm sorry, it's embarrassing, but I've never done housework before. I'm a complete beginner, so I might cause some trouble." She seemed to feel guilty about having no experience in housework, but I thought there was no need to feel so complex about it, as everyone starts as a beginner. Probably in Jessica's family home, her mother-in-law did all the housework. That's what I felt when I visited a few times. Jessica and her sister were pampered to the extreme. Though they were raised with care, it likely resulted in 25 years detached from household chores. Don't worry, we can learn together. To that, Jessica smiled softly and said, I was ready to be disliked for saying this, so I'm really relieved. From then on, Jessica put in a lot of effort. Eager to do the housework herself, she researched and experimented with tips from the internet. At first, I found her efforts endearing and watched over her, but she turned out to be surprisingly unskilled. I did the shopping on my way home. When I got home, she would happily show me what she bought, but I had to tell her, thanks, Jessica. However, we already have onions and carrots from yesterday, so you didn't need to buy them today. Really? Oops, sorry. She seemed to have no habit of checking the fridge, often buying the same ingredients multiple times. She also seemed unaware of prices until at the checkout, often buying expensive seasonings and household items. Ryan, what should I do? I did the laundry but forgot the fabric softener. It took her a long time to get used to laundry. Even though I suggested that we should do laundry regularly to avoid piling it up, Jessica often forgot to do it. As a result, we ended up with a large amount of laundry to deal with, and both hanging and collecting it became a struggle every time. I was used to household chores since my university days and was quite good at them. While I supported Jessica's efforts, the chores took so much time that I ended up doing more myself. Gradually, Jessica distanced herself from housework. It's faster and more accurate when Ryan does it. Maybe this is for the best. Jessica must have felt frustrated, unable to perform the chores to her satisfaction. Her once bright and hearty laughter seemed like a distant memory, replaced by a tired expression. I used to think it was okay not to force myself to do things I'm not good at, and that it's fine to try hard again when I felt like it. However, one day, I started to accumulate dissatisfaction. However, things started to change after our son, Max, was born. Welcome home. Thanks, I'll make dinner right away. Life became even busier with childcare. Our child's every cry was adorable to me. I felt I could do anything for him. I truly felt that way from the bottom of my heart. Jessica had severe morning sickness during pregnancy, making it difficult to work, so she took an early maternity leave. I took over the night care of Max, wanting her to rest. During the day, our parents helped, but it was still a struggle with first-time parenting. After childbirth, her body was already worn out and her energy depleted. That's why I believe mutual support between spouses is essential. After the challenging first 3 months, my exhaustion reached its peak. Work got busier, and I came home late every night after long hours and overtime. I had no time to rest, immediately starting household chores upon returning. Jessica took care of Max during the day. I kept telling myself that, trying to manage everything alone. That was my mistake. I was unknowingly strangling myself with my own efforts. Welcome back, Ryan. Today, Max. Sorry, I need to rush and get the laundry in. Oh, sorry, I'll take care of it. Jessica, unchanged since our marriage, always greeted me happily upon my return. But as soon as I entered the room, the messy scene stressed me out. Laundry hung outside on the balcony, and unwashed dishes in the sink. Lately, I think I've been looking at everything with a cold eye. I stopped Jessica, who hurried to get the laundry, and silently started folding it myself. Seeing the awkwardness in Jessica, she went to attend to our crying son, Max. On one of those days, I couldn't hold back my frustration anymore. Jessica, can't you do something when Max is asleep? I take care of him at night, so you can sleep, right? I vented my frustration, sighing at the perpetually messy room. Jessica listened with an apologetic look. Irritated even by that, I spoke coldly. "Yay, I know, I'm really sorry." Her sad face pained my heart, but her apology somehow made me speak more harshly. "Max has started weaning, but the rice porridge you make, Jessica, the grains are too big, I'm worried he might choke. And you're giving him foods and methods that are too early for his age. Please study before making them." Max was now 5 months old, and we had started his weaning. Jessica, not wanting to rely on store-bought food, began cooking. I was initially pleased with this change, but her lack of study and cooking skills showed, making me oversensitive about anything Max ate. "I'm sorry, I can't even make porridge right. You're amazing, Ryan, doing both work and house chores. Thank you, even though you're tired." Why does she thank me when I'm criticizing her? Why does she respond with kind words when I'm unloading my frustrations on her? I hated myself for becoming such a negative person. Time passed, and Max grew to be 4 years old. That year, Jessica and I divorced. It started with something trivial. During my business trip, Jessica was to take care of Max and the house. She was enthusiastic about doing house chores again, but when I returned, I knew everything from seeing my mother-in-law, who greeted me. "Ryan, you're back early. Welcome home." Jessica, clearly flustered. Seeing my surprised face, she honestly told me she had asked her mother for help. But I blamed her. "Why did you ask for help?" Now, I think, what's wrong with asking your own parents for help? I had lost my patience due to various stresses and took it out on Jessica. How low could I be? "Jessica, didn't you change your full-time receptionist job to part-time to focus on housework? So why am I still doing all the housework?" My mother-in-law had left immediately after I got home, so she was no longer there. With Max at daycare, it was just Jessica and me, a tense atmosphere hanging between us. Jessica didn't argue back as I showered her with harsh words. "I want to relax a bit when I get home from work, but I can't. I have to do house chores right away." Jessica just nodded, her face down. After 5 years of accumulated stress, I finally brought up divorce. Jessica looked sad and resigned, quietly agreeing to the divorce. I still had feelings for her. Her kindness, brightness, and sincerity. My feelings hadn't changed since we met. I didn't want to divorce, really. But I felt that staying together would break something beyond repair. The more emotional I got, the more hurt Jessica became. I had focused too much on her inability to do housework. I had seen her trying hard up close. I realized she felt sorry for not being able to do certain things. It wasn't Jessica's fault. I knew this better than anyone, yet somehow we had drifted apart. "Please take care of Max." I agreed to take Max, with the condition that Jessica could see him whenever she wanted. Jessica had nowhere else to go, so she returned to her family home, and I, coincidentally, got a transfer to a branch office and decided to move. I worried about changing Max's environment at such a time, but since the transfer was within the same state, I decided to take him with me. "Ryan, how has Jessica been since she quit her job?" A few years after our divorce, I returned to my original workplace. I noticed Jessica's absence at the reception but didn't know she had quit. Apparently, it had been mentioned in the company newsletter, but I hadn't had time to read it amidst my busy days. I didn't know she quit. "Is everything okay?" Reacting to a colleague's intriguing comment, I learned that Jessica had resigned suddenly after becoming emaciated due to the mental shock of her mother's death. She probably didn't tell me about her mother's passing or her resignation to avoid worrying me. I remembered her close-knit family. They were genuinely close, always filled with smiles. Her mother-in-law was always at the center of it all. She had always treated me very well, and now I was worried about how Jessica was coping after losing her. I tried calling her, but the call never connected. We had only communicated via email about Max's visitation. Thinking she might check her email when she had time, I sent a longer than usual message, mentioning I heard about her resignation and asking if she was okay. Her reply came quicker than expected, just one word, yes. Worried, but remembering we were now strangers, I didn't continue the conversation. Then, on a Sunday, 1 week before Christmas, I took Max shopping for Christmas. Every year, we decorated and prepared lavish meals, just like when we were a family of 3. This year, I had forgotten to reserve a cake, so we were out looking for a bakery still accepting orders. Max, this bakery still accepts orders. Which Christmas cake would you like? Finding a miraculously available bakery, I asked him, but his unexpected reply took me by surprise. I want the cake I made with Mom and Dad together. It was from the Christmas when Max was 3. That year, having forgotten to reserve a cake, we decided to buy sponge, cream, fruit, and candies from the supermarket and decorate it ourselves. Though inferior in taste and appearance to store-bought cakes, the joyously decorated cake became a delicious and memorable experience. All right, let's make a cake this year. Really? Yay. Max jumped with joy at my words. In my memory, Jessica happily decorated the cake. It felt a bit lonely to make it without her this year. Mom likes this cake. Max pointed at a fruit tart in the display, Jessica's favorite. Shall we buy it and take it home? Now, compared to those times, my work has settled down, and I have more peace of mind. I regret everything. The divorce, the harsh words I said, my selfish behavior, and the cold attitude I had adopted. It's too late for anything now. Then came Christmas. I left work early to find strawberries for the cake. Typical of the Christmas season, many places were sold out. Finally, at the 4th store with strawberries, I felt relieved, and then my heart skipped a beat when I saw a woman arranging items in the deli section. Jessica, the woman in the mask and apron, was undoubtedly Jessica, and I instinctively rushed over to speak to her. Jessica, what are you doing here? Ryan. Jessica looked at me, surprised. Max was now in elementary school, and Jessica and I had no reason to meet anymore. Seeing Jessica for the first time in a while, now thin and worn out, pained my heart. I wish I had paid more attention to her earlier. Jessica, what time do you finish work? Before I knew it, I was asking about her shifts in time, and after a few minutes of waiting outside the supermarket, she came out. You really waited for me. Jessica was even more surprised that I had waited. Of course, I'm going to make a Christmas cake with Max, and we have other preparations too. If you're okay with it, why don't you join us? I knew Max would be thrilled to see Jessica. He always talked about her happily after their visits. Above all, I wanted to invite her. I was worried about her, and I thought there must be a reason we met again on this Christmas, a day with special significance for us. Is it okay if I join? Jessica asked tentatively, but with a hint of happiness, and I nodded back with a smile. On the way home, bracing for an awkward silence, I asked her about her life after the divorce and following her mother's passing. After the divorce, I stayed with my parents for a bit. Jessica shared that she had initially returned to her parents' house after the divorce but then decided to live alone, hoping for a day when she could reunite with me and Max and gain life skills. But then her mother became ill and eventually passed away. Unable to rely on her married sister for help with her father, Jessica returned home to care for him and switched to her current job for its flexibility and proximity. She also talked about the challenges of balancing work and household responsibilities. I realized that it was no wonder you were upset back then. I'm sorry for putting you through so much. I should have found a better way to express myself, and I was too stubborn about doing everything myself. I'm sorry. Jessica never blamed me. I thought about how endlessly kind and strong she was. We exchanged apologies and felt a bit awkward, but we soon arrived home. "Mom, you're here too." Max, who had just returned from school, was delighted to see Jessica and eagerly led her inside. I followed them into the kitchen, placing the strawberries I had bought on the counter. Jessica, unsure where to go, was invited by Max to join in the kitchen. As we started making the cake, it was like the old times, a fun and lively atmosphere. Jessica, initially hesitant, joined Max in playfully decorating the cake in a whimsical way, and Max, inheriting Jessica's hearty laugh, enjoyed every moment. Seeing this familiar family scene, I felt a warmth in my heart. Jessica, too, seemed moved, her eyes moist as she bit her lip, laughing as she and Max bit the finishing touches on the cake. The completed cake was a creative masterpiece. The party was a blast, and the cake, despite its outrageous appearance, tasted like the best in the world. Max went to bed happy and content. As snow began to fall outside, and with Jessica saying her home was only 2 stations away, I almost insisted that she stay the night, and she agreed. We opened a bottle of champagne I had bought on sale and had a drink together for the first time in a long while. Jessica must have been going through a lot. Despite being 5 years younger than me, her skin and hair looked worn out. "Hey, Jessica, can't we start over? I know it's selfish, but I've been regretting. I hurt you, but my feelings for you haven't changed from the start." I abruptly brought up the idea of remarriage. Jessica, looking incredulous, responded in a quiet voice, "But I might just become a burden on you again." Even so, I expressed that now we could support each other better, apologized for not being mature enough back then, for not being supportive despite knowing her efforts, and asked her to remarry me. "Really? Of course, let's work on it together." Jessica nodded, tears in her eyes, at my words. And so, we decided to remarry. Half a year later, after much effort, Jessica's skill in housework had improved significantly. I also began to enjoy doing household chores with her, and now Jessica, eager to try complex recipes, even started attending cooking classes. Max was delighted that the family was back together, becoming brighter than before. I also realized that I lacked DIY skills, or rather, I was not good at making things. I noticed this during Max's summer vacation project, and surprisingly, Jessica was quite skilled in such areas. Now, we can proudly say we are a good couple who support each other in our weaknesses,